Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch Contenders Roundup. So, we are going to round out the results for Week 4 of the Contenders Season 2 2020 Season 1. And this is it. This is the end of the regular fixtures, and after this we'll be going into playoffs. So we've got 5 regions to look at: China, Korea, South America, North America, and Europe. Not necessarily in that order. So we've got quite a bit to get through. If you missed the Pacific and the Australian regions, that was a little bit a while ago. I think it was 2 contenders videos back. And then we're going into playoffs, which will be super interesting. But let's start out in China then. And in China we saw Team CC, Like This Player, Flag Gaming, Cosmos Veritas Gaming, First Fabulous Fighter, Bilibili Gaming, The One Winner, Light Gaming, Phantom Wizard, Ignition 1, Sponsor Taking Gaming, and Unnamed. Obviously China do a little bit differently because they have a small group stage, so there was 4 groups. Coming out of those groups would be Team CC, First Fabulous Fighter, Bilibili Gaming, Like This Player, The One Winner, Flag Gaming, Light Gaming, and Cosmos Veritas Gaming. This means that Unnamed, Phantom Wizard, Ignition 1, and Sponsor Taking Gaming will be dropping out at that stage. But going into the knockout stage, we saw Light Gaming take on First Fabulous Fighter. This would be a 3-1 win for Light Gaming. Bilibili Gaming would take on Flag Gaming, and it would be a 3-0 win for Bilibili. The One Winner would take on LTP, and this would be a 3-0 win for the One Winner. And Team CC would take on Cosmos Veritas Gaming, and this would be a 3-0 win for Team CC. In the semi-finals, we saw Light Gaming take on Bilibili, and this would be a 3-0 win for Bilibili Gaming. And the One Winner would take on Team CC, and it would be a 3-0 win for Team CC, setting up a final between Team CC and Bilibili Gaming. 2 of the big teams in China. And for the first time, Team CC come up a tiny little bit short, with a 3-2 win going to Bilibili Gaming, so they take the crown for Week 4 in China. And it's not going to make too much of a difference to the standings. That does mean they take home the 100 points, so with Team CC getting the 50, Light Gaming and One Winner will get 35. First Fabulous Fighter, Flag Gaming, Like This Player, and Cosmos Veritas Gaming will get 20. And Sponsor Taking Gaming, Ignition 1, Phantom Wizard, and Unnamed would get 10 points. So that means that to round out the Season 1 of the regular fixtures, and the points tallies would show as Team CC being top with 350, Bilibili Gaming in second with 190, the One Winner joint third with the Flag Gaming on 125, Like This Player would be joint 5th with Light Gaming on 110, and Cosmos Veritas Gaming would be joint 7th with First Fabulous Fighter on 95. Those will be the teams going through to the playoffs. Missing out will be Sponsor Taking Gaming, Pokemon Max, Ignition 1, Phantom Wizard, Unnamed, MDT, and Universe Thinker. So, that rounds us out for China. Now we move on to Korea. Korea was really interesting because you had 2 teams that were not exactly comfortable in the name of Runaway and Lucky Future, who had not sealed their playoff spots, whereas teams like Gen.G, O2 Blast, Element Mystic had kind of sealed their spots. So, obviously in Korea we saw Bitlicker, Element Mystic, O2 Blast, Gen.G Esports, T1, Lucky Future, Meta Athena, Team BM, Runaway, World GameStar Phoenix, OZ Gaming, and Top Honor. So, in the round of 12, Meta Athena would take on Runaway. This will be a 3-0 win for Runaway, improvements already. Team BM taking on OZ Gaming would be a 3-1 win for OZ Gaming. T1 taking on World GameStar Phoenix would be a 3-0 win for World GameStar, and Lucky Future taking on Top Honor would be a 3-0 win for Lucky Future. In the quarterfinals, Bitlicker would take on Runaway. Bitlicker were the winners last week, to massive surprise in Korea, but Runaway get a 3-0 win over Bitlicker. Runaway showing improvement. This is what we needed to see from Runaway after a lackluster season so far, you could say. O2 Blast would take on OZ Gaming. This would be a 3-0 win for O2 Blast. Element Mystic would take on World GameStar Phoenix. This would be a 3-2 win for World GameStar Phoenix. And Gen.G would take on Lucky Future. And this would be a 3-1 win for Lucky Future. In the semi-finals, you saw Runaway take on O2 Blast. I believe that's a rematch of the final from the second season last year, if I'm not mistaken. Runaway get a 3-1 win here. Very good from Runaway. And World GameStar Phoenix would take on Lucky Future, and it would be a 3-0 win for World GameStar Phoenix, setting up that final against Runaway, where they would take it. World GameStar Phoenix would get the 3-1 win over Runaway and take home that crown of Week 4 champion for the first time, I believe. They have not been a champion before. They take home that 100 points, Runaway getting the 50, O2 Blast getting the 35 alongside Lucky Future, Bitlicker, OZ Gaming, Element Mystic, and Gen.G would get the 20, and Meta Athena, Team BM, T1, and Top Honor would get the 10 points. This means that both Lucky Future and Runaway made it. The top of the points tally is actually joint top. It's between O2 Blast on 190 points and Wild Game Star Phoenix on 190 points. T1 would be in third on 140 points, but Liquor in fourth also on that 140 points. In fifth, you got Element Mystic on that 125 points, along with Runaway in sixth. Gen G would be equal on that 110 points in seventh, alongside Lucky Future in eighth. So those are the teams going through in Korea. The teams you would have perhaps expected apart from But Liquor are kind of the outlier, and are a new team recently, coming into the Korean region. And it does mean that we miss out on teams like GC Busan Wave, who've had a really rough time of it, and Meta Athena, and the lovely team that is Top Honor, who did get a second place in week 2. So that's unfortunate for them. But it'll be very interesting to see the playoffs in Korea, because there are so many contenders, and some teams have looked slightly off, but the way Runaway hit the ground running in week 4 is very interesting, and we will see if they can continue that going into the playoffs. But we will move over to South America now. And in South America we see And They Say, Dignity, Petitos, Warpigs, Betrayed, Up Gaming, Capybara Esports, Pacific Ocelots, No Ping Esports, Ignis 6, Burnout and Loja Geek. In a round of 12 we saw the Capybara Esports take on Ignis 6, this would be a 3-1 win for Capybara. Betrayed would take on No Ping, this would be a 3-0 win for Betrayed. Pacific Ocelots would take on Loja Geek, and this would be a 3-2 win for Pacific Ocelots. And Up Gaming would take on Burnout, and this would be a 3-0 win for Up Gaming. In the quarterfinals, And They Say would take on Capybara, this would be a 3-0 win for And They Say. Warpigs would take on Betrayed, and it would be a 3-0 win for Warpigs. Dignity would take on Pacific Ocelots, and it'd be a 3-0 win for Dignity. And Petitos would take on Up Gaming, and it'd be a 3-1 win for Petitos. All of the seeded teams would be going through. In the semi-finals, we saw And They Say taking on Warpigs. This would be a 3-0 win for And They Say. And Dignity would take on Petitos, and it'd be a 3-0 win for Dignity. Setting up the classic final from this year that we keep seeing. It's And They Say taking on Dignity in the South American region, and this time it is Dignity that will come out on top with a 3-1 win over And They Say, and sealing that week 4 title. Taking home that 100 points. And They Say would get the 50, Petitos and Warpigs would get 35, 20 would go to Capybara Esports, Betrayed, Pacific Ocelots and Up Gaming, and Ignis 6, No Ping, Loja Geek and Burnout would take out the 10 points. This means going through in the South American region will be Dignity in that first place with 300 points, and They Say will take the second place with 285 points, a clear gap between the top 2 and the rest in South America. Warpigs would be joint third with Petitos on 140 points. In joint fifth, we saw Capybara Esports and Up Gaming on that 80 points, and Pacific Ocelots would be in 7th on 60, and Betrayed would be in 8th on 50, and they would all go through to the playoffs for South America. Ignis 6, Loja Geek, No Ping, Burnout, Glacial, Anime Club, Black Ronin, and Las Salamandras would all miss out, and Horus Gaming and Awakening were Horus Gaming forfeited and Awakening were disqualified. So now we get to the tasty regions, because we get to NA and EU, which is always I don't know whether we use that interesting at the moment, but in EU, we saw British Hurricane, Sheer Cold, Disaster, Young and Beautiful, Raspberry Racers, Ex Oblivione, Shoes Money Crew EU, Dreadlords, Raw Esports, Samsung Morning Stars, Chaos, Insurgency, and HSL Esports. So, in the round of 12, we saw Dreadlords taking on Samsung Morning Stars. This would be a 3-1 win for Samsung Morning Stars. Shoes Money Crew EU would take on Chaos Insurgency. This would be a 3-0 win for Shoes Money Crew EU. Ex Oblivione would take on HSL. This would be a 3-0 win for Ex Oblivione. And Raspberry Racers would take on Raw Esports, seeing a 3-1 win for Raspberry Racers. In the quarterfinals, we saw British Hurricane take on Samsung Morning Stars. No surprises here that the dominant force in Europe continue with a 3-0 win for the British Hurricane. Disaster would take on Shoes Money Crew EU. This would be a 3-1 win for Disaster. Young and Beautiful would take on Ex Oblivione. It would be a 3-0 win for Young and Beautiful. And Sheer Cold would take on Raspberry Racers, and it would be a 3-1 win for Raspberry Racers. In this semi-final, we saw British Hurricane taking on Disaster. This would be a 3-0 win for British Hurricane, no surprises there. And Young and Beautiful would take on Raspberry Racers, and this would be a 3-1 win for Young and Beautiful, setting up a rematch in the final against British Hurricane, because I believe we have seen that one before. I think in the first week of this season, I might be wrong. But this was actually, I think, the closest final Hurricane have had. But it is still a win for the British Hurricane. 3-2 in the end. Very good that Young and Beautiful made that close. But British Hurricane complete the 4-win streak. They have won every single week of Contenders EU this season and stand very, very pretty at the top of the standings. Taking under his 100 points, it would be 50 for Young and Beautiful, 35 for Disaster and Raspberry Racers, 20 going to Samsung Morning Stars, Shoesman Crew EU, Ex-Oblivione and Ex-Sheer Cold, and then the base 10 points going to Dreadlords, Chaos Insurgency, HSL Esports and Raw Esports. This means that rounding out the points tally in Europe will be British Hurricane on top, obviously, with that completely perfect 400 points, 100 points every single week. Can anyone dethrone a British Hurricane? In second, we see Young and Beautiful with 155. Sheer Cold in third with 140. Disaster in fourth with 125. Shoesman Crew EU will be in fifth with 110. In sixth, we see Ex-Oblivione with 75. In seventh, Samsung Morning Stars with 60. And Raspberry Racers in eighth, squeezing in there with 55. Because of two good placements in week 3 and 4, because remember, Raspberry Racers did not exist in week 1 and week 2. But that does mean there are some big names missing this season. Dreadlords will not be in it, Raw Esports will not be in it, they're fairly new, but Angry Titans will not be in it, they are ex-winners of Contenders. Vox Nihili will not be in it. HSL Esports are the holders of Contenders EU, and they will not get a chance to defend that title in the playoffs. Massive. Chaos Insurgency and Vasta Gaming will also not be in there. Obviously, Nariki Esports, Clockwork Vendetta and Notting Contenders no longer exist, and so they forfeited. But the biggest question in EU is anyone going to stop the British Hurricane? And that's a question we're going to get answered very, very soon. But our last place to look at is, of course, North America, where we saw Team Doge, Third Impact, Second Wind, Triumph, Dark Mode Esports, Uprising Academy, Malibu, Odyssey, Saints, Hype Unit, Square One, and Karasuno. In the round of 12, we saw Malibu taking on Karasuno. This would be a 3-1 win for Karasuno. The Uprising Academy would take on a Hype Unit. This would be a 3-0 win for Uprising Academy. Dark Mode Esports would take on Square One. This would be a 3-0 win for Dark Mode Esports. And Odyssey would take on Saints, and this would be a 3-1 win for Odyssey. In the quarterfinals, we saw Team Doge taking on Karasuno. This would be a 3-1 win for Team Doge. Triumph would take on Uprising Academy, it'd be a 3-0 win for Triumph. Second Wind would take on Dark Mode Esports, and it'd be a 3-0 win for Second Wind. And Third Impact would take on Odyssey, and it'd be a 3-0 win for Third Impact. Interesting that the moves at Second Wind regarding the Vancouver Titans does not seem to affect them too much, which is good news for them. In the semi-finals, we saw Team Doge taking on Triumph, it'd be a narrow 3-2 win for Team Doge. And Second Wind would take on Third Impact, and this would be a 3-2 win for Third Impact. Two very narrow semi-finals in NA, nice to see. But the final is anything far from narrow. It is Team Doge taking on Third Impact, and it'll be a 3-0 sweep for Third Impact. It's actually quite a surprise, because Team Doge are that old Team MV roster, and are very good. So, very good win for Third Impact there. So, Third Impact would take home the 100 points. It would be 50 for Team Doge. 35 to Triumph and Second Wind, 20 to Karasuno, Uprising Academy, Dark Mid Esports and Odyssey, and then the base 10 to Malibu, Hype Unit, Square One and Saints. So, to round off NA, that means that we see that Third Impact actually take the #1 spot in NA with 260 points. That takes them above Team Doge after that win this week, who will take up that second spot with 220 points. Second Wind will be third with 190. Karasuno will be fourth with 110. Saints will be joint fifth with Triumph on 100. Square One will be seventh on 85. And then there is actually quite a big gap to Hype Unit in 8th, who are on 30. But they're actually joint on 30 with Revival, Noble, Uprising Academy, and Dark Mode Esports. So I don't quite know how that's going to work out right now, and it'll be interesting to see how they seed this tournament. But yeah, that's going to be very, very interesting. And obviously missing out Odyssey, Sky Foxes, Malibu, Montreal Rebellion, and Atlanta Academy, because both the two last ones are forfeited, obviously, and the other ones didn't make it. But I don't know how they will work out the joint 8th seeding there with Hype Unit, Revival, Noble, Uprising Academy, and Dark Mode Esports. And obviously, it'll be very, very interesting, because I think the top of NA is actually pretty close between Doge and Third Impact and Second Wind. So there could be some surprises on the horizon in NA. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how these teams do. And if Uprising Academy don't get a seeding, then there is not a single Academy team in sight from the Overwatch League. That's very, very interesting. But that is the results for the regular season 1. That's it. No more results for the regular season. We're into playoffs now. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see how this pans out. Some of these playoffs are a week away. Some of these playoffs are going to kick off pretty soon. We will cover them as and when they come in. I believe also in Australia, we are going to see them kick off very, very soon. So yeah, it's going to be super interesting. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.